See, you gotta get your hands on a SwampFox. They're great. They're great. They're great. You gotta get one. So you know what? I went ahead and listened to all of your recommendations and bought myself this Arrowhead 1 to 10 by 24. What does something like this cost? Well, it's around $500 if you are inquiring. As far as the box, it's actually really nice. And there's all the information you are going to need to know on this guy. So without further ado, let's see what this is all about, shall we? Again, the box is very well made. A little bit of silica gel, some stickers, more stuff. What do we got? Well, it's literally falling out of everywhere. Little instruction booklet with all the stuff that it comes with. Very nice to see. Pretty typical stuff. Nice illustrations. Guerrilla dot long range. Glass etched illuminated reticles. So, this is not the one that we have. We have, which one is it? I kind of wish I had that one. That's not the one. That's the one. Kind of similar to a segmented circle from one of the Trigicons. So I'll be curious to see how it compares to one of them. Anyway, there we go. We got a couple of small screws in there. I'm assuming it's for if you damage the screws over here on this cattail. Interesting why they decided to screw this in as opposed to having a clamp. I guess it was a little bit less expensive. But there you go. I am getting ahead of myself, of course. This box is pretty nice. The foam fits it very well. Very reminiscent of a smaller Trigicon box. So I'm going to be placing this in sort of that realm. Because for $500, it should be pretty good. Or at least we would imagine. As you can see, it comes with caps, which barely hold themselves on there. These come off very easily. At least on the rear. The front's a little bit better. More of a typical fit that you would expect from any sort of cap. Even though it is a little on the loose side. But you could always put a little bit of tape in there if you really needed to. Which if I was keeping these on there, I probably would. If you see little pieces of fur, that is my cat. She decided to make love to this thing the last time I had it out. And yeah, that's basically it. Fast focus eyepiece at the back. Is a pretty short throw. You can hear some interference on the inside. Pull it all the way out. Turn it in a little bit. So despite the noise, at least this fast focus eyepiece is tight. As far as the magnification ring goes, we have 1 and 10 is right around 6 o'clock, so 180 degrees. And as I've already showcased, this throw lever is screwed in right here. So you have technically 1, 2, 3 different locations you can put this in. But that appears to be it. Starting at 1, we go all the way up to 10. And it's pretty smooth, but you could hear something rubbing inside. But I'm sure it's not too much of an issue, but it is something to take note of. This is illuminated, and as you can clearly see, they actually have 12 settings with offs in between. You have night off, night vision 1, night vision 2. Wow, that's really hard to turn. And really sharp. These splines are very, very aggressive, which is good because you're going to need good purchase on this thing to turn it. But yeah, very tight. Once it's in there though, this thing ain't going anywhere, but almost might be a little bit too tight. Hopefully this thing will wear in with time. As far as the battery compartment goes, not too hard to take off, even though this outside cap feels a little bit smaller than the actual dial itself. Big spring on the inside. Standard CR2032 battery, not held in by any way, shape, or form. And that's as standard as a battery compartment as you can ever get. As far as the turrets go, these do lock. And they do sound really good. A little bit of play back and forth, but not too bad, all things considered. Not the best, but again, not too bad. Both windage and elevation are locking. And at least they were nice enough to put 1s on either side of the 0. So at least if you go to make an actual adjustment, you know exactly how far you're going and not have to worry about doing any sort of math. And it's nice that they have the R indicated with an arrow on the side, so this way you know exactly which direction you're moving the bullet to the reticle. That sounds and feels great. While we're here, let's see if we could pop open this lock for the turret. And this should slide right off. You can see we got some nice splineage going on in there. Plenty of splines to line up. I can't get a good count, but let's see if we can reset it fairly easily. That's easy enough. It's not lining up 100%, but that gets a pass. All right, without further ado, let's get behind this thing and see what it looks like. All right, so full disclosure, I have looked through Arrowheads in the past. They were 1 to 8 models, and when I found this 1 to 10 for a really good price, I figured, why the hell not? The 1 to 10s are really in right now, and let's see if they can do a little bit better than what Vortex managed to do with their Gen 3. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about it, but you can see it. There's a little bit of fisheye going on, especially at the power lines. There actually is a very slight amount of magnification to this thing at 1x, and that's really what it comes down to. As far as the overall clarity of this thing goes, it seems really good at 1x. The green illumination, as you can clearly see, is not daytime bright, and it's been that way with every other LPVO I've ever gotten my hands on. In fact, the only thing that I did have that was green and daytime bright was a 510 from HoloSun. That was, I believe, sent in by Scott. Now, I'm not going to go elaborate too much on this thing, but here at 30 yards, of course it's not going to look good at its maximum magnification at 10x. How could it? It's stretching it just a little bit too much, but I back it down to 6x to get a really nice clear image here, and then we push it back to 400 yards where the image at 6x looks absolutely fantastic. And increasing the magnification to its maximum doesn't really yield that much of a difference overall as far as sharpness and brightness go. So far, this thing is shaping up to be really nice. The overall controls feel pretty good, but as a whole, the thing does have an air of cheapness to it. It is a Chinese-made optic after all. I've already mentioned Trijicon in this video, but comparing this to a Trijicon is completely unfair as far as the overall feel, build quality, and price go, because the Trijicon is clearly many tiers above this thing. But the glass quality so far, as far as the overall sharpness and clarity, is on par with some of the second focal plane Trijicon models I've got my hands on lately, which is mind-boggling. But you have one that's made in Japan, one that's made in China, and that has a huge factor to do with the overall price. But this is neither the time nor the place to have that conversation. I'll save that for the full review. But so far, initial reports on this thing are fairly promising, and I can't wait to see how this thing functions in the field. And with that, thank you very much for watching, and as always, see you again next time. And a very huge thank you to all of my Patreon providers. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. If you'd like to help support the channel but don't want to join my Patreon, I completely understand. But you can still help support by using my affiliate links in the description below. Thanks again for watching.